Hi again, everybody, and welcome to Inside Golf, and welcome to Fieldstone Golf Club in Greenville, Delaware. We're in the Champions Room for a very special chat with an old friend of Inside Golf, Tom Carpus. He's been a head professional in the Philadelphia section of the PGA, most recently at Kennett Square. He's been the past rules chairman on the PGA of America, and he's also now dabbles in rules on a weekly basis on the PGA Tour Champions. A lot of experience in majors. He's made some interesting rulings or been part of them, and we're going to talk about all of that with Tom Carpus, plus what the vibe is like on the PGA Tour Champions as opposed to the PGA Tour. And we'll also be hearing from our pundits as they gather again for another Teed Off segment. So, Tom Carpus, Teed Off. It's a full show. As always, we'll be back with it here on Inside Golf.
Inside Golf is presented by Destination Montco Golf. 54 courses, 300,000 yards. Check them out at montcogolf.com. By the First Tee of Philadelphia. The First Tee helps young men and women become better golfers, but most important, better people. Get involved. Visit thefirstteephiladelphia.org. By the Golf Association of Philadelphia, GAP, celebrating amateur golf since 1897. By Jersey Man Magazine, it's a Jersey way of life. And by Philly Man Magazine, bringing it to Broad Street. By the Haverford Trust Company, quality is in our DNA. And by Inside Golf's partner since 1998, the Philadelphia Section PGA, experts in the game and business of golf. Take time to thank your local PGA golf professional.
Golf is the great equalizer. For many, this journey is an escape from reality, a chance to be part of a team, a career opportunity. PGA Reach impacts lives through golf by lifting people up, giving them hope, and sending them down an alternate path that they never saw coming. With PGA Reach Philadelphia, as in life and in golf, the most important shot you take is the next one.
Welcome back. Inside Golf continues. Today we're at the Champions Room at Fieldstone Golf Club in Greenville, Delaware with Tom Carpus. Good to see you.
Great to see you, Harry.
You need no introduction, but you don't mind if I give you one.
Go right ahead.
Okay. Former head professional at Kennett Square. Past chairman of the PGA Rules Committee, big job. Currently, one of the rules officials at every PGA Tour Champions event. And more importantly, beyond all of that, frequent contributor over the years to Inside Golf. As we say,
golf rules.
Golf rules. And we're going to talk about your career in rules. And let's go right to 2020, an up and down year. Start and stop. Late start, some stops along the way. How was it for you?
Well, it was strange. I mean, basically, I worked our last event in March before the pandemic. So I was in Newport Beach.
Where was that?
Newport Beach, California, at
the
Hogue Classic. It was a great event. Ernie Els won. Came right down to the wire with couples, and it was terrific. And lots of people. Great event. I jumped on a plane and I got home, and of course that following week was the Players Championship, and as we all know, on that Thursday golf stopped, and we didn't start back up until July, and of course once we started back up we had all these protocols in place, and the travel was just different, wearing masks, all the things that were just social distancing and
no crowds,
all these new terms that we have
sure.
in 2020, but no spectators. So that was really strange. None of the tournaments had build-outs with grandstands because they didn't need them. And with our tour, pro-ams are really important. So we tested all the amateurs that played in the pro-ams. That was no small feat. And we had 11 events this year, and I think we pulled it off with great success.
Talk about testing. How often were you tested once you did get back to being
every
an
week.
official?
All of our officials.
Just once a week?
We would fly into a site. we would have to get tested before we could go on site, and then we were considered inside the bubble, and then we got the temperature screening each day.
You know, Tom, you've been involved in several majors over your career as a rules official, and I know you were telling me how many Masters?
10.
10 Masters. You did not do the most recent one in 2020, the delayed Masters. You've done how many PGA Championships?
I think I'm at 25. I think.
25. Did you ever play in a PGA Championship?
No,
Just
I was
as
never
a
that
rules
good.
official. He tried, but he didn't.
I thought I was good enough, but no.
Okay, you're an honest guy. But you've done the Open Championship across the pond?
Did 4 of those, which is just outstanding. It's just a wonderful experience.
Ryder Cups?
5 of those.
Ryder Cups.
2 overseas and 3 in the States.
What was your most favorite moment at a Ryder Cup?
Oh gosh, I think Valhalla, which was my first one, and of course they won that year, and that was just that getting ready to go out for my first match was probably the most nervous I've ever been, but it was also the most excited because you're jumping into an arena with a lot of people.
So all those majors that I talked about, and you've never done a U.S. Open, so we won't include that obviously. What were some of the more interesting rulings? Now you had one this year with Bryson DeChambeau, PGA Championship, which he won at Harding Park. That has to be near the top of your list, was it, for rulings you've made in a major?
Well, what made it what it was the fact that all the eyes were on Bryson DeChambeau because of how far he's hitting it. The ruling itself was probably as easy as it could, which is always nice when it's an easy ruling to be able to get in and handle it. In his case, he leaned on the club broke, and then he had questions about what he could do. So he asked, I have another shaft, can I get another shaft out of the car and replace it? And of course the answer was yes. And then he had a friend with him that was following him around. He asked me if I could take him to the car. So I said, sure, jump in the cart. And of course the interesting thing was on the 7th hole at Harding Park, short par 4. We got in the cart, we got the club out of the car, and we were able to get back before they putted out on 7 green. And the only reason we were able to do that was because there were no spectators.
How about that?
So normally it would have been a couple of holes because it would have trying to get to the parking lot or the players' parking lot through the crowds, especially following him. He would have certainly had one of the larger galleries.
You were involved too. It was your hole, I forget the year, a few years back. Tiger Woods at the 15th, the par 5, at Augusta in a competitive round in the Masters. It made a lot of news the following day, not exactly when it happened, because it took that long for Fred Ridley, who's now the chairman of Augusta. At the time he was involved with the rules, and he got a call from somebody saying, hey, we better check in to see what Tiger did, and you were only a few yards away, right?
Yeah, I had the 15th hole, and at my location was short of the pond left, sort of near the dropping zone. And of course he hit the shot, hits the flagstick, comes back in. He walked over fairly close to me, assessed the DZ, didn't like the angle, so went back. And from all appearances, from me, and there was another, John Paramore, who just retired from the European Tour, he was closer than I was, and it looked like Tiger just went back under stroke and distance. Dropped it, hit the next shot on the green, and then there was someone called in, or something happened where it became, a committee became aware that he might have played from a wrong place. Well, it didn't look that way. I've looked at the replay of it 100 times, and it still doesn't look like he did anything other than drop under stroke and distance. Well, anyway, they looked at it, they didn't see anything. He signed his card. He did an interview, and he said he went back a yard or two to get a different number, which now changes the whole deal because now he did play from a wrong place. And at that time, because they had made a ruling before the card was signed, they were able to fix it, give him a 2-stroke penalty for the wrong place, and he wasn't disqualified. And everything was done exactly by the rule book because you got USGA folks there. Obviously it's the Masters, so Fred Ridley and the competitions committee are going to look at it. But they did everything correctly, and He got his penalty. Of course, it got a lot of media. And but I was there. It was kind of a non-event for me because I didn't see anything, and neither did anybody else.
Right. The interesting life of the rules guy, Tom Carpus. It continues in just a moment here on Inside Golf.
That is this in the new rules when you accidentally move your ball on the putting green.
Just familiar faces. They're your friends and neighbors. It's their small businesses, a beating heart that makes a neighborhood a home. The places with a pick-me-up or a story that inspires, where you can share a taste of comfort with the personal touch that makes our world shine a little brighter. Support small and make a big difference. Make it local. Make it Main Street. Make it Modco.
And welcome back. Inside Golf continues from the Champions Room at Fieldstone Golf Club, Greenville, Delaware. We want to say thanks, big shout out to Jimmy Larkin, Director of Golf here at Fieldstone, for providing the hospitality and allowing us to talk rules with the rules man, Tom Carpus. All right, we talked about Tiger at the Masters. Jasper Parnevik, you had an interesting ruling. This was a little more recently, as part of your job being a rules official on the PGA Tour Champions. Tell us about that.
Well, I didn't actually make the ruling, but it was with our officials, and as a committee we talked about it to make sure we got it right. But essentially, in the new rules in 2019, if you make a stroke from the putting green, the way the rule reads says if your ball hits an animal, any person, or a movable obstruction, it's a cancel and replay. Basically, the stroke doesn't count. You go pick it up.
So you get a mulligan.
You get a do-over.
Yeah.
Great thing. So Jesper was tapping his ball in, and he had missed the hole, and the ball hit him in the foot. And this happened, I think, on the third hole. So then he tapped it in. When he got into scoring, he brought it to the committee's attention. And of course, the ruling would have been, had he called us to the spot, would have been, take it over. But in this case, because he made a stroke, he holed it out. He gets a penalty for the wrong place, which is 2 strokes. But the interesting thing is, the stroke that he made where the ball hit him in the foot is canceled. So he ended up getting maybe a net penalty stroke of 1, let's say.
Instead of 2.
So in any event, we brought it to the USGA and RNA's attention, and then it happened again. It happened 2 other times at other tours, on the regular tour, Corn Ferry Tour maybe. So now there's going to be a new clarification, which by the time this airs, it'll be out, where if the ball were to hit either a insect or worm, or something considered a loose impediment, or the player, or the club that he used for the stroke, we're going to play it as it lies. It's not a cancel and replay. And that makes sense because if Jesper would have holed out, let's say it hit him in the foot and went in the hole, and he thought it was holed, and he went and teed off on the next hole, well, he would have been disqualified because that stroke is canceled and he would not have had a score. So this trap has been fixed.
You know what's happened to me, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers, maybe it's happened to you too, where you're, say, going to hit an approach shot into a par 4 and you take a practice swing and you accidentally hit the ball. What is the actual ruling there?
Well, if you make
now, it's not my intent to make that my stroke.
If the ball's in play, meaning you've already teed off, and you take a practice swing, except on the putting green, we'll get to that, and you move it, you've caused your ball to move. So it's a 1-stroke penalty and put it back.
You have to place it back, though.
Put it back.
Right.
Now, the only case, now you can substitute if you want. Let's say it goes off the toe of your club and goes into the woods. The only exception to that is this in the new rules, if you accidentally move your ball on the putting green, it's no penalty and you put it back. So like Davis Love at the Players Championship years ago, took a little practice stroke and the ball went off the toe of his putter. At that time, he failed to put it back, tapped it in. He ended up getting disqualified, long story, but in today's world, he would have put the ball back with no penalty because it's on the putting green. Accidental movement of the ball on the putting green. One of the best changes, I think, that's come around for a long time.
And the other changes regarding like in the bunker, things that you can now pick up and discard from the bunker that 3 or 4 years ago you couldn't do, and 40 years ago you could.
Yeah, loose impediments. I mean, now you can, just like you can move them in the fairway or the rough or the putting green now, if your ball's in a bunker or a penalty area, you can go ahead and move these loose impediments. You still have to be careful that you don't cause your ball to move if you're in a penalty area or a bunker. And in bunkers, you have to be careful that you're not, if you think it's a stone, that it's not just a clump of sand, because if you were to think it was a stone and you went and tried to move it and it was a clump of sand and it just disintegrated, well, you could be penalized if that now improved your lie or your area of intended swing.
In your opinion, the people that you deal with, the players I'm talking about, both on the PGA Tour and also on the PGA Tour Champions, they pretty much know the rules?
I mean, our group, we have a lot of guys that know the rules. So, I mean, they'll do things on their own, and from what my observation, they generally get it right. But there's, they still ask though. I think if you're in contention and it's Sunday, and if we're dealing with these temporary obstructions that we put out there, grandstands, TV towers, most cases they're calling us for that. But just simple things like cart paths and penalty areas, unplayable ball, these guys, they most of them know the basics. Phil Mickelson, who's our new rookie this year, he's very sharp with the rules. And it's great, we had a great year with Phil Mickelson, Jim Furyk, Mike Weir, Ernie Els played a lot this year. So the Champions Tour, we got Padraig Harrington coming out, Stuart Appleby, several rookies coming out next year.
We'll have more on that. We'll talk about the vibe in a little bit, but we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're also going to hear from our teed off panel. Stay with us here on Inside Golf.
I love that. Again, it doesn't require you to hit the ball 350 yards.
Welcome back. It's time for Teed Off here on Inside Golf. We have a beautiful sunny day. We're sitting here on the deck at Lulu in Upper Dublin, Montgomery County. By the way, speaking of Lulu, it's one of dozens of great golf courses in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. And to find out more about Montco Golf, go to the website valleyforge.org. All right, our panel today, Leela Mackey. She's with the Philadelphia section, PGA of America. She is the foundation director, but that's just one of many things she does. Joe Logan, he also is a busy guy. He's the man behind myphillygolf.com. And the newly elected president of the Golf Association of Philadelphia, Mr. Oscar Mestri. Oscar, let me start with you.
Okay.
GAP has how many club members?
300 clubs, 80,000 members.
All right, we're going to kind of narrow it down on this topic. If you had one hole to play on one of the great GAP golf courses in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, whatever, where would you want to play? What one hole? I'll give you, you can make it more than one golf course, but just one hole at that golf course.
One hole at that golf course. Where I think of it in terms of, if I only had one hole, I'd like to play something that was, personally, I'd like to play something that's shorter and requires a lot of accuracy. I'd start maybe with the 11th hole at Marion.
The 11th hole at Marion.
You got to hit it in the fairway, and then you have to hit a very challenging green. I think that give me a sense of an accomplishment and history, obviously, at that hole.
That's the Bobby Jones hole.
That's the Bobby Jones hole.
Right.
So
and it has what is it? The creek goes a little bit.
Darby Creek.
Darby Creek goes
running right through it.
Almost all around the green.
And around it. So, in front of it, it's a water hazard. Behind it's an out of bounds. So it's a beautiful target. It's you don't have to worry about killing it in order to play it, and it's got all you can handle with being quite short. you know, and if I get a chance to pick another one, you know, any one of the ones
You're the
at Pine
president
Valley.
of Gap. You can pick as many as you want. I mean,
I'd have to go with, gosh, I think the number 1 at Pine Valley is such a great opening hole. I love that. Again, it doesn't require you to hit the ball 350 yards, but you better hit it where you're aiming, or otherwise you're going to have a tough day. And it's just a wonderful way to start the round.
yes, it is. Leads you
into
to
a
the
great
second
round.
hole.
Yeah, exactly.
The uphill green, a little different.
So yeah, I just play one, I come back. That's it. I'm done.
You and Jay, an abbreviated Jay Wood Platt round.
Exactly.
At Pine Valley. How about you, Joe?
Well, I had narrowed it down to 1 to you so we could do more than one. So I'll give you 4 holes, all closing holes that I think are great.
All number 18s.
18th holes.
Okay.
Marion, start with Marion because it's such an iconic hole. Great shot, that great second shot in that's so famous from the high Peskin photo of
Hogan.
Pine Valley has a great 18th hole, uphill into a green, terrific. I think White Marsh Valley has one of the most underrated 18th holes around here. It's a great uphill closing hole. And then one that's kind of out of nowhere I would think no one else would get, and that would be Applebrook. Gil Hance's closing hole. Uphill, dog kind of wraparound par 4. It's a great second shot, one of the great second shots around here. All 18th holes, all good.
All elevate? All elevate.
And did I say cricket? Did I put cricket in
You
there?
didn't put cricket in.
Well, there you go. That's 5.
That's the only one you're going downhill. The others you've all gone uphill.
Correct. You're right.
Yeah, and he said second shot. For me, they're great third shots on all those
Well, that's
holes.
usually a chip or a pitch.
I know, I'm getting a little bit long in the tooth, but hey, it is what it is. Leela.
For me, I would love to play number 1 at Marion, just because having the patio right there, and just so many great legends have stood right there. I think that would be really cool. A hole that I really like is number 18 at Sunnybrook, just because I've watched the Haverford being played there year after year, and I didn't grow up in this area, so not growing up playing a lot of these golf courses, I really like the 18th at Haverford, and we've seen a lot of funky stuff happen there. So yeah.
Yeah, especially when there's $100,000 on the line. We've seen some crazy things happen
Yeah.
on that 18th hole, like in a playoff where you 3-putt and bingo, there it goes. It's funny, of the 3, nobody mentioned any par 5s, all par 4s, I think, and nobody mentioned any little par 3s, like, I don't know, there's a ton of great par. You mentioned Pine Valley. Does it get any better than the 10th hole at Pine Valley? And, White Marsh has that little, I call it the road hole, the 9th hole at
Yes.
White Marsh is a great little par 3, but par 3s didn't make it, nor did any par 5s. Interesting. Do you have any favorite par 5s?
Favorite par 5s? Well, I've been tortured.
Is there such a thing?
I've been
Is that-
tortured by some par 5s. And I'd say that the two par 5s at Pine Valley. I mean, with the Hell's Half Acre on number 8 and 15, the second shot
Uphill.
and it feeds so hard left to right that leaving it in the right spot for the third shot. I mean, it's all you can handle. People think of par 5s as easy. Those two are not.
How about him saying the third shot? You've been on that green in 2?
Never.
Never.
Well,
Now that he's the Gap president, somebody will probably say, "Go ahead, we didn't see."
Yeah,
that
start
one."
from the fairway maybe.
All right, panel. Thank you. We'll be back. More to come on the Inside Golf. Well, we're going to wrap things up here on Inside Golf from the Champions Room at Fieldstone in Greenville, Delaware with Tom Carpus. And Tom, what's the vibe like out on the PGA Tour Champions as opposed to the regular PGA Tour? How do guys, when they're now a little bit older, they're still competing, but is there a different vibe?
Well, I think what you have to realize is that you got Ryder Cup players, past captains, major champions. These guys have been playing golf together for 25, 30 years, and they've known each other. They got paired together way back in the day, and now they're playing in the 50-plus group. So there's a feel these have been there, done that type of thing, where these players are very relaxed. A lot of them bring their wives, they walk around with them. It's a terrific atmosphere. At the same time, very competitive. These guys, they work very hard at their games. It's the hardest tour to qualify for, and you have to shoot numbers to win.
Yeah, 3 days as opposed to 4, but you better be in the mid to upper 60s, all 3, or else you're not going to get the big check.
No question about it. I mean, it's hard to win.
Well, let's hope you get in 2021 a full schedule of events. We'll be looking for you on the TV. I know you sometimes have a way, like you did out there at Harding Park with the PGA Championship in Bryson, showing up. We're going to look for you in 2021.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we'll get back to a normal season, if you will.
And you know what you always say.
Golf rules.
Tom Carpus, always good to see him and his rule book. That's going to do it for this week's edition of Inside Golf. For Tom Carpus, I'm Harry Donahue. Remember, in addition to golf rules, no matter how bad it's going for you out there, don't pick up. You may get a penalty. We'll see you next time on Inside Golf.
Inside Golf is presented by Destination Montco Golf. 54 courses, 300,000 yards. Check them out at montcogolf.com. By the First Tee of Philadelphia. The First Tee helps young men and women become better golfers, but most important, better people. Get involved. Visit thefirstteephiladelphia.org. By the Golf Association of Philadelphia. GAP, celebrating amateur golf since 1897. By Jersey Man Magazine. It's a Jersey way of life. And by Philly Man Magazine, bringing it to Broad Street. By the Haverford Trust Company. Quality is in our DNA. And by Inside Golf's partner since 1998, the Philadelphia Section PGA. Experts in the game and business of golf. Take time to thank your local PGA golf professional.